Hi, I'm looking a little less scruffy than usual today, but hopefully that's okay. Today we're going to talk about supply and demand, which is a concept from economics. Supply and demand simply refers to the way we decide what things are worth, how much we should pay for things, what the value is. I think I want to finish up at the end talking about houses and real estate. We'll come to that eventually. All right, so whenever there's a large supply of something available, all other things being equal, prices will be low. And when the supply is small, all other things being equal, the price will be high. When demand is high, all other things being equal, the price will be high. And when demand is low, all other things being equal, the price will be low. When we look at baseball cards or old comic books, either one, what we're talking about is just paper with some ink on it, just pictures. Well, you can pick up a newspaper. It's paper with ink on it. It's got pictures. And a newspaper costs, what, $1? You can get, in a lot of places, you can pick up a color brochure at a store or something like that. They'll just give it to you for free. It's paper with pictures on it, paper and ink. And those things they give out free of charge. There's no charge for that. So why do some baseball cards or old comic books sell for thousands, or in some case, millions of dollars? Well, sometimes people want very specific artwork. They want specific pieces of paper with specific images on them. And there's a very limited supply. Those brochures you get for free, well, the people who made them can print up all they want. They can print up more of them. But there can't ever be any more Superman comics from the 1930s, because the 1930s are over. And so if you want the authentic, real deal, very first Superman comic ever, Action Comics, there's an extremely limited supply. Almost all the ones that were ever made are gone. They've been destroyed. And especially the ones that are in super, super nice condition. There are only a few of them in the entire world. And there can't ever be any more. Fixed supply and a very small supply. But there are lots of people who like Superman and who want that original, pristine comic book. High demand, small supply, and that drives the price up. When one of those comics comes up for sale, it can sell for millions of dollars. A Babe Ruth baseball card, especially if he signed it. Mickey Mantle rookie card, if he signed it, especially if he signed it early in his career, because his signature changed over the years. If it can be authenticated as a perfect condition card that he signed in his rookie year, there are almost none of those, almost no examples known, almost no supply. Very high demand. Lots of sports collectors want those. And those are the cards that sell for tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars. We're about to celebrate Independence Day here in the U.S., 4th of July. And in most states, it's possible for people to go and buy fireworks that they can enjoy at home. Or I guess in the city limits, a lot of places it's illegal to use fireworks. You can go out of town somewhere and set off firecrackers and bottle rockets and things like that. That's not available in every state. But on the 5th of July, all these little fireworks stands that appear along the road, they have to stop selling after the 5th of July in our state and in most states. As soon as the 4th of July is over, very quickly, they have to stop selling their fireworks. So on the 5th of July, they usually still have some supply. They haven't sold all of their fireworks yet. Honey, what happens to the demand for fireworks on the 5th of July?
Demand goes down on the 5th of July.
Right. So the supply really hasn't changed much since the 4th. They closed down business on the 4th that night, and they've still got fireworks left when they open up on the 5th. Yes. Supply hasn't really changed. But demand has changed because most people want to buy their fireworks on or before the 4th of July.
Yes.
And the people who still have them know they're going to have to store them for months. Around here, they can sell them again in December, around Christmas and New Year's Eve. A couple weeks in the summer, a couple weeks in the winter, that's it. Those are only opportunities to sell for the entire year. So they have a remaining supply, but demand has fallen. What happens to the price?
Price goes down.
If you go shopping for fireworks on the 5th of July around here, you usually pay half price. That's half price fireworks day. Because supply is still there, but demand has fallen. And they're losing their opportunity to sell those things for several months. What happens in grocery stores across the country on November 1st?
Half price candy day,
Half price candy day. Why is it half price candy day? What happened the day before?
because it was Halloween.
The day before was Halloween, that's right. And on November 1st, grocery stores still have a supply of Halloween candy around. But suddenly there's much less demand. They need to get rid of it. And so the price falls. On October 30th, the price for candy, because people want to buy it for Halloween, might be fairly high. But on November 1st, the price is going to fall because people are not looking to buy Halloween candy anymore. Day after Valentine's Day, February 15th, is also half price candy day because all that candy that they had in stock for Valentine's Day that's got hearts on it and so on, there's low demand for it, so the price will fall. The day after Easter in the U.S. Is half price candy day. Several times in the year when you can buy candy at a big discount because all of a sudden there's less demand for it. What happens to the price? How about this? What happens to the price of Christmas lights and wrapping paper on December 26th?
Half price.
Yeah, almost all that Christmas stuff goes on sale the day after Christmas because the supply is still very much available. The retailers have that stuff in their stores, on their shelves. It's taking up room, but there's now very little demand for it. People aren't looking to buy Christmas stuff right after Christmas. And if you wait another week or two, the wrapping paper will get marked down. This wrapping paper that was $4 or $5 a roll before Christmas, and people were buying it like crazy. They wanted to buy it. There was high demand for it. And after Christmas, if you wait a week or two, a lot of those tubes of wrapping paper will be 50 cents or 10 cents, sometimes more than 90% off. Because even though there's a supply still available, there's now almost no demand for those things. Supply and demand work together to determine the value of any kind of goods. What was the other example we gave before? Or was that?
Fireworks, there was all the candy, there was Christmas stuff.
Oh, I said I didn't want to date the video.
Yes.
I don't want to date the video because hopefully this will be useful for many people for many years in the future. So I won't say that this happened last year. Instead, I'll say it happened recently. But way back in 2020, if you can remember that far, what happened to the available supply at retailers of hand sanitizer, disinfecting wipes, chlorine bleach, disinfecting spray like Lysol spray? What were the other things that disappeared?
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper, yeah. What happened to the supply of those things at your local store?
The supply went away.
The supply disappeared. The shelves were empty. What happened to demand? Did people demand fewer of those things, less of those things?
No, they demanded a lot more of those things.
People wanted to buy more hand sanitizer, more chlorine bleach, more rubbing alcohol, more Lysol, all of those things. Mm-hmm. Demand went way up, and the supply at retailers actually declined. Did the supply from manufacturers, did that decline, or were they making as much as before?
They were making the same amount as far as
right. So the total supply that was available was at least as much, and in fact, they probably started making more.
Yeah.
But the demand increased a whole lot really quickly overnight. The demand shot way up, and the supply could not increase to match quickly. Manufacturers couldn't produce 10 times as much of those things overnight. Mm-hmm. They couldn't. Maybe they could add a little bit of overtime and they could produce 10% more, 20% more. Maybe within a few weeks they could add another shift and produce twice as much. Even that takes a long time because you have to hire people and train them and so on. And so here we see demonstrated inelasticity of supply. Pretty advanced term. I don't know, you might not cover that in high school. This would be more of a university thing. Inelasticity of supply. The supply of these things was relatively inelastic. It couldn't stretch to meet demand. Some things are more elastic in supply.
Swimsuits was the other one.
Yeah, we talked about the fact that if you wanted to buy a swimsuit in the winter, you were out of luck because there's no supply available, but also no demand. But that's irrelevant to elasticity. But the supply of some things is relatively inelastic. I'm trying to think of something that would be very elastic in demand. What's something that we could produce more of as a society very quickly? we wanted to.
Oh, we wanted to, we could all grow gardens and suddenly have tomatoes.
Yeah, it would take at least a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about this? You talked about turning your lawn into a farm for tomatoes. What if all of a sudden we all need more lawn mowing done? The grass is growing faster.
Yeah.
Well, the fact is, most people could probably take a little extra time in the week to mow the lawn again. Just do some extra lawn mowing. So lawn mowing, we can have more of that. Haircuts.
Yeah.
You can get people to cut your hair at home. They might not do a really good job of it. But that's something that we can produce in greater demand really quickly. There's a lot of elasticity of supply, but when it comes to things like chlorine bleach and rubbing alcohol and hand sanitizer and disinfecting wipes, the factories that make those only have so much capacity. Oh, it's not, the word supply is not quite in frame. It'll be fine. They'll know. The factories that make those only have so much capacity, and they can't increase that capacity very quickly. And we see that sometimes with gasoline as well. All of a sudden, there's more demand for fuel. Well, the refineries and the oil fields that produce that fuel can't produce it a lot more quickly than they do. And any increase in supply usually takes quite a bit of time. You know, if the oil fields start pumping more oil, it can take weeks to get that shipped and refined and shipped again, and eventually get it to the gas station.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of elasticity of supply in things like petroleum and in certain manufactured goods like rubbing alcohol and chlorine bleach and disinfecting wipes. So when supply cannot, through elasticity, increase to meet demand, what we see is an increase in price. And that increase in price is a way that the market regulates how much we buy. In other words, if you go to a retailer, we'll use a retailer as an example. If you go to a retailer and there are 10 people who all want to buy the same container of disinfecting wipes, how does he decide to whom to sell them? Well, he could do things like, he could say, well, the first person here gets to buy it, or I'll draw names out of a hat. But one way that the market regulates how much we buy is by increasing or decreasing price. When the market increases the price, eventually it increases the price to a point where people don't want to buy anymore. They say, oh, I don't want to buy it at that price. What did we see at those big bottles of hand sanitizer last year? I'm saying not last year, but in 2020.
Yeah.
Big bottles usually are like $20 or $30. Even on Amazon, what do they sell for?
They were going for like $80.
They were for like $80, and the same on eBay. If you wanted one badly enough, you could buy it. But what most people did was not buy at $80, and they decided, well, instead, I'll use some alternative. I'll just wash my hands more frequently. Or I might spray my hands with Lysol spray, but of course that stuff was not available either. Or I might use some alternative product. Instead of what people were buying to clean their homes, instead of chlorine bleach for disinfecting, they were buying vinegar, because vinegar kills germs too. It kills viruses and bacteria. It works very much like bleach, and actually is probably better for the environment because it's not toxic. Fun fact about vinegar. Vinegar kills viruses and bacteria just like bleach. It disinfects. It's wonderful for disinfecting, but it's so safe you can drink it.
Yep.
Don't drink bleach. Bleach will kill you. But you can drink a glass of vinegar every day if you want. I wouldn't, because it tastes terrible. But vinegar is safe enough to drink. That's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. But we don't have a lot of elasticity of supply for those things. And so when the supply cannot increase to meet demand, the price has to go up. And when the price goes up high enough, people stop demanding the thing at that price and they find an alternative. When the price of gasoline gets really high, people start to think, maybe I want an electric car instead of a gasoline-powered car. Actually, you probably remember this from about 15 years ago. The price of gasoline got really high, but the price of diesel didn't. And a lot of people started buying diesel-powered vehicles, diesel-powered trucks, or like a Volkswagen with a turbo diesel engine, something like that, because it was less expensive than gasoline. So people seek alternatives when the price goes up, or people start buying the less expensive thing when it's an alternative. If the supply is high and demand is low, then the price will fall until people want to buy that thing at the new price. That's how markets determine value. I want to talk briefly about real estate, about land and houses. ultimately, how do you decide what a piece of land is worth? Because we don't have to manufacture that. A house is a little bit different. A house, you can at least look at how much labor went into it and how much in the way of materials. How much did it cost to build the home? And of course, the price of the home doesn't really necessarily reflect how much it costs to build it, because the house might be 50 or 60 years old and maybe it only cost a few $1,000s to build and now it's worth $500,000, because the price of real estate tends to go up over time. But land, people don't have to manufacture land. So if they got it for free, shouldn't it always be free? Land should cost zero, right? But it doesn't. Land is usually fairly expensive. Is the supply of land elastic? Can we make more of it?
No.
For the most part, no. The supply of land is fixed. Yeah, we can do things like in Holland, they use dikes to, they build walls basically to block off the ocean, and then they pump the water out, and they've got a new piece of dry land that they can use. And that's done a few other places, sort of reclaiming land from the sea. But for the most part, the supply of land is fixed. Whatever land is in the world is all there's ever going to be. Whatever land was in the world 100 years ago is the same amount there is now. The supply of land does not change very much. Do we have the same number of people in the world as we did 100 years ago?
No.
No. And all those people need land for things. They demand land. They need land for living on, and for working on, and for driving their cars, and for manufacturing things that you have to build factories somewhere, manufacturing things they want to buy, and places to put their garbage. You need land for landfills. And they also need to grow food, and that requires land. The supply is fixed, but the demand every day is increasing, because every day we have more people on this planet. And so the price of land keeps going up, and presumably always will, at least for the foreseeable future. How do you decide how much a piece of land is worth? Well, you look at the amount of land you have available, how many acres, and how desirable it is, and you look at the number of people who might want to buy it. And basically all the sellers of comparable pieces of land get together, I mean not face to face, but they get together with all of the potential buyers, and they collectively decide what that piece of land is worth. If you say, well, I have 5 acres here, and I want $1 million for it. If nobody thinks it's worth $1 million, then you won't sell it. If none of the buyers demand it at that price, then you won't sell it. You can ask $500,000. And if none of the buyers think it's worth that, then you won't sell it. It's sort of like an auction, but in reverse. When you meet a price, when you come to a price for that piece of land that somebody thinks it's worth and can pay, then you'll sell the land, and that's how you determine the value of the land. What's the price at which somebody's willing to buy it and able to buy it? And what if you find out that if you're 5 acres of land, well, nobody will pay you more than $10,000, and it's worth more to you than that, you'd rather just keep the land. Well, in that case, you don't make a sale, and I guess the land is worth more than $10,000, but we don't know exactly how much. Anyway, but that's the way we collectively decide the price of everything, supply and demand.